What's up everyone, Jimmy here from Base Game Reviews, and today we're diving into the triumphant return of Battlefield. With the biggest concurrent player count on Steam for any Battlefield release, has game director Vince Zampella truly saved the franchise after the massive blunder that was 2042? Let's find out as we break down our time with the action-packed campaign and our limited run in the multiplayer, just trying to survive. This is our review of Battlefield 6. Let's get into it. How I played. I played Battlefield 6 via Steam on my R7 9800 X3D RTX 5080 gaming PC on max settings. I was able to play at 1440p at 165 FPS on my 32-inch LG Ultra Gear display. I also used my Arctis 7P Plus headphones for immersion and to get myself really into the gameplay. Story, 14 out of 20. Intro. Battlefield 6 drops you right into the action as the first mission, Always Faithful, has you start out in the army barracks. It introduces you as the playable character, Gunnery Sergeant Dylan Murphy, and you briefly meet your squad before shit hits the fan and the Pax Armada start attacking the base. You quickly move from standard on-the-ground gun combat to vehicle combat, and you also get a taste of some of the more tactical elements that will be introduced later in the game. This was an excellent intro and gave me a great idea of what I was in for with this FPS campaign. Cutscenes. Battlefield 6 has a mix of in-game rendered cutscenes that are mostly used for dialogue moments between you and the NPC characters. Then there are full-on rendered cinematics that play between missions to drive the main story points in a Tarantino-style way of storytelling. The cutscenes worked for me because they were a nice little break between the hectic action moments. The dialogue was a bit campy and cringe, but that's 100% expected in this action movie style storytelling. World building. You get world building through the mini mission briefings that appear before each mission. The cutscenes and NPC dialogue moments also help flesh out what's going on. I felt like they could have shown more of the events that led up to where we are in the game, but the world building was serviceable enough for me to understand what was going on. Overall story. I felt like the story of Battlefield 6 was a bit too tempered. It felt safe to me as a player. I was talking about the game with some of my gamer buddies, shout out to Warawana and Baldante, and both of them being actual FPS fans, unlike me the soul snob, told me that the director for Battlefield 6, Vince Zampella, was basically the Hidetaka Miyazaki of FPS games. He directed fan favorites like Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, so that set the bar very high for me. I had recently played both Modern Warfare 1 and 2, and those had amazing campaigns, so I was a little underwhelmed when I finished Battlefield 6. Games like this should be akin to massive box office action movies, over the top, ridiculous, and explosive. The story doesn't need to be complicated or sophisticated. It could literally be the terrorists have the bomb, crank some Motley Crue in the OST, and that would be enough. I really think a 1990s action movie treatment would absolutely kill in these FPS campaigns, and the fans would love it. Graphics, 14 out of 15. Character models. The best way I can explain this is that the player characters all look aggressively okay. Their faces don't look goofy and everything looks well rendered. The CGI cutscenes look lifelike and the in-game models definitely look like polished previous gen graphics, which is totally fine. I did run into some small nitpicks where lighting would bleed through the characters' mouths at times, but that's it. Environments. There's a massive diversity in environments and an insane level of set dressing. Buildings, vehicles, objects, and like 90% of these are destructible. I know the Battlefield destruction mechanic has been around since like Battlefield Bad Company, but I cannot explain enough how absolutely awesome it was to have a sniper on a rooftop taking out your team, and then you and some buddies come together and level the building to take out the sniper. Cinema. Special effects. The explosions and gun effects all look top tier. The destruction mechanic, which I just mentioned, takes the SFX to the next level. I was seriously impressed with the lighting and reflection effects for a title that has zero ray tracing. I was shocked at how good everything looks. On top of that, the performance is insanely stable, even on lower end specs. Audio, 12 out of 15. Ambience. The ambience in Battlefield 6 is chaotic and exactly what you would imagine a war zone would sound like. The mix of gunfire, tanks, jets flying overhead, and perfectly injected hype music was just pure chef's kiss. Mission music. Since there are no real bosses in FPS games, we changed this category to mission music. Battlefield 6 does a great job of making sure the OST matches the stakes of each mission. I did feel like there could have been a few more hype moments, but the soundtrack still did a solid job of getting my adrenaline pumping before heading into battle. Sound design. Even if you're using a $3 set of earbuds you got from 7-Eleven and told your grandpa to put them on, he'd 100% feel like he was back in the shit with the boys. The sound design is fucking insane in Battlefield 6. Some players said they need to improve footstep detection and other sounds in multiplayer, but for the campaign, the sound mix was incredible. It was a joy to play with headphones on and fully immerse myself in the chaos. All the voice actors did great with the dialogue they were given, but something I missed from a few Call of Duty games I've played is having a big name actor voice one of the main characters. That would have put this game over the edge. Performance, 8 out of 10. Frame rate. I was able to hit a mostly locked 165 FPS in Battlefield 6 with my hardware, but I know most players won't have that. Still, I was stoked to see tons of YouTube videos showing people running the game on low-end GPUs and even on integrated graphics. The Frostbite engine is truly shining here, which is massively refreshing compared to all these Unreal Engine 5 pig games that run like absolute slop. I was also hyped to see Battlefield 6 has a balance mode on consoles that runs at 60 FPS and a performance mode that runs at like 90 FPS plus. And on PS5 Pro, the best place to play by the way, it's running at 110 FPS. We need this in more modern games. 60 FPS should be the minimum and performance mode should hit like 90 plus FPS. So thank you EA for doing this. Stability. I won't lie, as much as I'm blazing Battlefield 6, I did run into some jank. The enemy AI is all over the place and sometimes barely functional. Enemies would get stuck running into walls or just standing there taking hits. I also had issues with all the audio cutting out or going out of sync during certain in-game cutscenes. These issues will definitely be ironed out in patches, but it shows that Battlefield 6 could have used a little more time in the oven to fully cook. Gameplay, 33 out of 40. Controls. This is a well-oiled FPS. Movement and controls feel sleek and buttery smooth. I'm still new to the mouse and keyboard gameplay, but I'm getting better, even if my friends laugh at my shitty Call of Duty run and slide movement. I don't know how the controller experience is, but I did find the default keybind for grenades a bit out of reach, so I mapped it to the side button on my mouse, much better. From what I hear from my gaming buddies Baldante and Warawana, the controller experience is fine, nothing amazing. Mechanics. Like I mentioned earlier, I love the destruction mechanic, especially in multiplayer. Some people thought they were clever getting on top of a building you're not supposed to climb. Well, we fucking leveled that bitch with tanks and rocket launchers. I also love how functional each class feels. At first, I tried to snipe, but I got mogged left and right. The moment I switched to assault, it clicked. Reckless charges, chaotic firefights, glitchy movement, my natural playstyle. What I really appreciate is how you earn points just by doing your job. Medics rack up points, reviving teammates, engineers help keep tanks alive for the push, and getting a random shout out in chat for saving the team's run is honestly one of the best feelings. I totally get why FPS dads don't look at their children for weeks at a time. Pacing. Some complain that the Battlefield 6 campaign is short, around 5 to 6 hours, but I think that's perfect. The pacing is tight, mission types don't repeat, and it never drags. No huge lulls or filler, just pure momentum. I love this. UI, UE. I found the in-game UI a bit much. There's a ton of information flying at you all at once. I also think some important settings are buried too deep in the menus. I had to watch multiple TikToks to get my graphics settings dialed in. And yeah, maybe it's just me being new to FPS games, but figuring out how to join a friend's party wasn't intuitive. Could definitely use some improvement. Mission quality. Since there are no real bosses, we swapped this to mission quality. The missions are diverse and unique in their own objectives. I loved how Battlefield 6 managed to mix in every player type so you didn't just play one way the whole campaign. Ground combat, vehicles, drones, all solid variety. There were some great cinematic moments too, like the dam sequence near the end. If they had padded the campaign to 10 to 15 hours, it would have ruined the pacing with repetition. As is, it's tight and satisfying. Enemy variety. You don't get much enemy variety in FPS titles, but there's enough standard grunts, snipers, elite enemies with armor, turret gunners, and vehicle enemies, plenty to keep things chaotic. That said, I wish they had more distinct visual variety, but that's probably just the RPG/Souls player in me talking. FPS fans probably don't give a fuck. Gameplay variety. I found it hilarious that after finishing the campaign, the game gives you an uninstall campaign option to free up space for multiplayer. I love that there are multiple multiplayer modes that you can select or deselect to randomize your pool. There are even hidden achievements and collectibles in the campaign. You definitely get your money's worth here. Replayability. I suck at FPS games, and I'm terrible in multiplayer. That being said, I'm fully addicted to Battlefield 6 multiplayer. This game is all about those moments with your friends. Clutch snipes, wild helicopter runs, tank comebacks, those chaotic stories that make the game unforgettable. I totally get how people say just one more round and then the morning alarm goes off. This game is that addictive. Bonus. There are some great colorblind options in the accessibility settings, plus other vision assist features. I'm happy to see more than just closed captions like most modern games, so great work EA. Overall, 83 out of 100. Great. Battlefield 6 may or may not be a true return to form for longtime fans, but I sure as hell enjoyed my time with it. The graphics and visuals are up there with juggernauts like Call of Duty, and the gameplay is just as satisfying, if not more. The story and narrative were serviceable, but could have gone more over the top to match the action movie energy. Still, I'm glad it didn't fall into the tired, modern storytelling tropes. The gameplay and multiplayer are where this game shines, and you'll easily spend hundreds of hours having adrenaline-fueled moments with the boys. Hoorah!